One thing that was kind of a red flag is I was like, medical school is already such a sexually charged time.
It always gets sexually charged with you. We're always coming back to that, aren't we?
Oh, it's me who's sexually charged. No, it's medical school. Medical school's that way.
Medical school as an entity is sexually charged?
Yeah.
That's your
It's
stance?
a sexually charged time.
Hello. My name is Tony Chinqui.
And I'm Frances Mei Harden.
And welcome to Social Rounds, the podcast in which two of the happiest surgeon dropouts you'll ever meet give our unsolicited opinions on the states of medicine, the world at large, pop culture, and whatever else we happen to find interesting. And we made it to episode 3. Hooray for us, I think. We're not canceled yet. And that was a thought I had. Because, can we get canceled, Frances Mei? Do we have people who can cancel us, or does the Hippocratic Collective own the ability to cancel?
I mean, society at large could cancel us, but I view us as being on the right side of history, so that seems unlikely. I'm a pretty exacting boss, so
yes,
I guess
that is true. I've heard tell of your lack of tolerance of any tomfoolery on your network here.
Yeah, just how unreasonable the CEO of the HC is. Quite. That bitch is unreasonable towards me.
Well, I mean, we're just walking, tiptoeing on glass here, just doing our very best. Yeah, and you know what? We don't know. We haven't released these episodes yet. So we may be canceled by the masses. People may not like us at all. But you know what?
It's the danger of batch recording.
Yeah, that's the danger of batch recording. We're now in this blissful space of just thinking that we're massively popular and just an incredible hit. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just, living in the fantasy world. And I think we should just act like we're incredible and super important.
That sounds good, Tony. I feel like all of these open with such a wild pump up. It's anyway, we're the best.
Yes.
And then we just hit a couple kind of reasonable middle of the road news stories. And then we sign off and we're like, well, we've done no one's ever dared to do.
No one's ever thought to do this or done it this well. And, it's a tough mantle to take on, but we continue to do it. And I'm really honest. I'm really proud of us. I mean, look at us go.
Okay. The quote of the day is, there's always going to be someone who doesn't believe in you. Don't let that person be you.
That's right. And we choose to embody those words here on the Social Rounds. And we're going to continue. We're just going to get into it because we know you all love this podcast and can't wait to have more of it. So hopping in to segment 1, which is news. So we're going to jump into news in which we give our rapid fire takes on recent inside baseball medical news, also outside baseball medical news, and what's dope and or questionable in pop culture. So on inside baseball, I kind of really like this story. So Alice Walton, aka the world's richest woman. Let's give you guys a couple seconds to listen to her name. Her name is Alice Walton. She is super rich. What could have made her rich? 3, 2, 1. Have you guessed? Probably not. She is the heiress of the Walmart fortune. So that's where that Walton money comes from. They named it after themselves. And she is a philanthropist, and she just opened up a new med school. So it's called the Alice L. Walton School of Medicine, just opened this summer in rural Arkansas, like Ozark country, Arkansas, way out there. But that is where the Walton family is from. It's built on land that the Walton family owns. So what's super special about this school? Well, the idea from it sprang from Alice's traumatic experience with the medical system back in the 1980s. She's
of advanced age.
She's of advanced age, but still just getting after it. So in the 80s, she had a bad car accident, had multiple surgeries, years of complications, and determined that the medical system was broken and someone had to do something about it, damn it. And she was going to be the one, because she remembered that she barely pays taxes to our brilliant government. So she decided to use her powers and money for the good of society. So the school It combines traditional medical education with additional requirements for the humanities, the arts, and nutrition and preventative health to make the students super well-rounded. Now, the school is attached to an art museum, which Alice owns, which she may or may not have named after herself. I can't remember what the name of it is. And one example of a required art class is that, like, you'll have to, like, sit for a sketched portrait that's done by one of your classmates. So you're going to have to, like, be there, like, draw me, like, one of your French girls, Jack, for her or him during med school hours. And this is meant to teach new skills of observation. Also, they're going to have gardening and cooking classes as part of the curriculum, so young docs get appreciation of how to prepare healthy food options in hopes that they can pass on lessons like this to their patients. And the big kicker, tuition for the first 5 classes is going to be completely free and paid for by Big Alice Walmart. So, hooray for that, and wow. So, Frances Mei, off of this story, I have a couple questions for you. First, would you have applied to this medical school? Like, do you find this approach inspiring, or do you find it to be misguided or a little too much?
I am going to put this into the bucket of rich people who rich right.
Okay. Say more.
It's a smash for me.
Okay, so you like it. Why? What about this is appetizing to you?
I actually like, we've talked a little bit about, and I definitely support free or better subsidized medical education for students. Additionally, even in terms of some of these innovative, like, curriculum pieces, inclusion of more humanities, cross-discipline type of stuff, I love that. I would personally want to go to a program that had those offerings. I personally, the Ozarks are a part of the country that I don't think they're, like, the biggest fans of half Asians there. I've been to the Ozarks, so I don't know about that geographically, but I like what they're doing with the curriculum. I wish that it was more than 5 free years, but maybe that'll be extended. And again, in terms of rich people who rich right, like, yeah, there's all sorts of ethical concerns with mega millionaires into billionaires, but at least this person is doing more than other billionaires are doing for medical education, and I think the next generation. The only concern I have, one thing that was kind of a red flag, is I was like, medical school is already such a, like, sexually charged time.
It always gets sexually charged with you. We're always coming back to that, aren't we?
Oh, it's me who's sexually charged. No, it's medical school. Medical school's that way.
Medical school as an entity is sexually charged?
Yeah.
That's your stance?
It's a sexually charged time.
It's a sexually charged time, more so than other times in life or in the journey of medicine?
Yes. For most physicians, their childhood is not marked by really overly sexual times, and they spend college studying in the library. And then medical school is like, okay, I've arrived enough, and it's, been so long that I have ignored all other pleasures in life.
So it's time to get sexual. Is in medical school.
Yeah, not me, but I'm just saying.
Of course not you.
For the people.
No, this is just something,
I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
No, I'm not. No one's worried about you. I'm just saying. I never thought of it as like, wow, this is an overtly sexual time to be alive. This 4 years, let's get crazy. Though med school is fun, and it is a sexual time. I didn't know if it was more. Maybe it's more sexual for folks who are, like, really hardcore nerding it in college. But college nerds get after it. Like, I never thought of it that way. But anyway, I interrupted your point. You said it's a sexual time. How does this relate to Mama Alice?
Doing the sketches. Because for some reason, when you were saying it, I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, are they doing nude sketches? And then I realized you did not say nude. So I was like,
I didn't.
It's intimate, though.
These are these are the remnants of sexual med school, just in your head, banging around that herd nude.
Exactly. We all bring our own biases to the table, and we just, like, also hear what we want to hear. So I had to check myself.
I mean, I agree with you. I love it. I think we need more of this. I always want more arts and humanities in any curriculum. I actually think it's really innovative to think and to consider the ways in which bringing art into a medical curriculum will help you with communication and observation in just these ways that you don't anticipate, just different ways of looking at the world, different ways of interacting with other people. And so I love that. I agree. Um, I mean, she's worth an estimated $111 billion. This one lady, like not her family, like each of her brothers is worth about this much individual. Like it's nuts. So like, we couldn't go like more than 5 years.
Couldn't just do like 8 classes worth of free medical students?
I'd say indefinitely. Like if you want to change the landscape of physicians that are going out into the world, like make this a place where you churn out folks who, you can get all this like great diversity of perspectives and cultures in all these people who are coming up through your med school. If you take away the financial burden and just, if that's how you want to change the landscape, do it for 20 years. Do it for 50 years. You have the money. This isn't going to be a dent.
And you can't take it with you when you go.
You can't take it with you, Alice.
She's up there, age-wise. I think that the other thing that's a nice reminder for all of us in terms of, well, why are humanities and some of these other types of arts important for physicians to know? Well, I will tell you, I did a lot of my training in the Midwest, and I've had over the past 8 years, certainly the proportion of my patients who have been farmers, extraordinary, very high. Gardeners, high, social gardeners, yes. Some pro gardeners as well over the years, a lot of diehard farmers. And I'm born and raised in Chicago. So, there's even like a lot of that life and vernacular that, sure, I picked up from context clues over the years, but it would not have hurt if at any point in my education, which was purely like a STEM education, that someone had taught me a little bit about gardening or like the earth or outdoors, because I have to share one of the biggest like miscommunications in residency was that I basically had an attending who was obsessed with hunting morels, which is morel mushrooms. And I was like, man, I know that from somewhere. And then I was like, I do know that. I have some morels. And I had been collecting all these morels, and I was trying to explain this in clinic in the swamp in between patients. I was like, I've been getting morels. And he was like, here's where I go in the woods. And if you bring a dog, that's particularly helpful. And you just kind of have to squint for like 6 to 10 hours. I was like, yeah, that's crazy. I actually have a cave that grows mushrooms, and there's morels in there. And he was like, what? And I was like, I am talking about a video game. I'm talking about Stardew Valley. It's my game, and I'm a farmer in the game. And, they're like, one of the magical things that happens in an early season is that they turn this little cave on your property into a mushroom cave, and it does sprout morels. So like, just a classic misunderstanding. But I think
that is
I speak for most doctors when I'm like, we could have a little bit more real world experience.
Yes. And I think to just add on to that, any ways in which you can formalize in medical education or even in residency, especially in residency, when you start really working in and for these communities, is whatever you can do to get physicians out into the communities that they serve, so that they understand them. They understand where, what kinds of markets are around. Like when I was living in Detroit, like when I moved up there, I wasn't living like in Detroit, but then I moved down there after my first couple of years. And then I realized like, oh, so this is what they mean by a food desert, because there are barely any supermarkets around anywhere. And like, there's like one Whole Foods that's like way out of everyone's price range. So like, where do people get food? How are people eating? And the answer is, with great difficulty and not very well, and I was then like a part of that community. I was like, okay, like, how do I eat food? And I ended up not eating very well at all myself. But, you have to get out into these communities to understand them. And I think, part of their curriculum here, like they do go out into like the rural Arkansas community and do that sort of stuff, which I think is fantastic. But I think that definitely should be formalized in every medical school. And definitely, as honestly, as part of residency, like they should require us to like really get out into the community and do work and meet folks and see what these neighborhoods are all about. Because even if you don't live there, like having the knowledge, having the vocabulary of where people go, what the names of stores are, the names of certain products are, especially when we're like thrown to the wind for residency, we could be anywhere in the country, knowing, having that familiarity will make people lean in way more in their interactions with you. And, you build rapport and trust so much quicker.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And final question for this, because it actually made me think of you. So if you, Frances Mei, built a school or a company or like a foundation from the ground up with your own money or like your parents, massive amount of money, do you name it after yourself while you're still alive?
Yeah, honestly, I do not love it. I personally wouldn't do it. It feels like an old guy's move. Like, I just don't think that that's cool. I definitely think that I should get to name it. For instance, I already have we have a boat name picked out. Colin and I both are not boaters. I don't see necessarily a boat for us in the future, but we know what the boat is going to be, right? And it's not going to be like Frances Mei L. Harden, which that is my middle initial too. I'm an L. And it's just not going to be like that, but we want to call it Edley's Revenge. We have a cat named Edley, and she's named after Edley's Barbecue. And so when you asked me this, my first thought was I would name the medical school Edley's Revenge. And like
Edley's Revenge School of Medicine, yeah.
Yeah. Edley's Revenge School of Medicine and professional, dentistry. And it would it would have my mark on it. But that would be like a cool mark. I just don't think saying like Frances Mei Harden School of Medicine, that's just uncool. That's like the Gilmores from the Gilmore Girls, where Rory was like, you can't name an astronomy building after me while I still go to Yale. Like, it's weird. I think it's a generational thing that they think it's so cool to plaster the name of the living.
I don't know. I mean, I was talking to my wife about this. I was just like, I don't know, man. Like, I'd be okay if I donated to some place and then somebody was like, hey, that guy's cool for donating. Let me name a bench after him or something like that. But like, I would never think to name the thing after me. But apparently there's a whole world of people who would totally do that. And, people thinking about their legacy. If like they don't do it for themselves, like who else is going to do it? I don't know. Like, it's weird to me. I'm with you. I wouldn't do it myself, but, it's Alice is going to name it after her damn self, and we can't tell her shit because she's got the money and she's putting good things out into the world. Okay, so let's move on to outside baseball news. Okay, I will preempt this bit of news by letting you know that this news sucks. Like, when I was reading it, I was like, this is actually the worst. But we may be doing like a public service by sharing to our now tens of thousands of rabid podcast listeners, this information. So we just saw an article. It's about a woman in Virginia who's been waking up in the middle of the night to vomit like every night for most of her adult life. And plus, on top of that, she has like generalized, fatigue. She gets rashes and hives all the time. But of course, she just thinks like this is what her life is at this point because it's been going on for so long. The idea that there's actually something wrong with her is she thinks maybe it's just in her head because no doctor's been able to figure it out. But she finally went to like the right GI who ran a very specific blood test, which showed that she had alpha-gal syndrome. So this is some shit you get from ticks. This is not something that maybe I knew it back when I took, what is that first one? Step 1. And you have to learn all this shit. But this is something you get from very particular ticks, the Lone Star tick and the black-legged tick, for those of you who live around ticks. And apparently the tick saliva transfers alpha-gal into your bloodstream. And alpha-gal is a molecule present in non-human mammals. So your body has an allergic reaction to it, or some people's bodies do. And then from that point, whenever you're exposed to alpha-gal, whether it's via food or like certain medications or even household products, your body gets super pissed and your life sucks for like, a day or two. So the part that sucks about this is that there is no cure for this. So like if you go and get tested, you find out that this is what you have, then the only thing you can do is like practice avoidance of like all things related to meat. Like all that stuff gets cut out because that's what's been making you kind of sick for years. So anyway, this bums me out. If you're someone who's had these kinds of mysterious symptoms for a long time, there may be a diagnosis for you. So go and try to get tested. These funny, crazy allergies are just wild to me. But for the rest of us, just, stay out the tall grass. I wasn't like a tick kind of guy growing up. So I didn't know about all this stuff. Like nature walks, like they're not good. So stay home. So Frances Mei, if you were to get ticked up, and then you became an alpha gal, what would be the hardest thing for you to give up?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, your Detroit, your New York City roots are showing. I will say that.
I never hide them. They're very much present. I'm in this city life.
I wish that I did not know what I know, but I will tell you, my residency, my practice in Tennessee as an ENT, alpha-gal syndrome is like bread and butter. Alpha-gal syndrome is that's why you were like, and then you go to the GI. I was like, wow, that's shady as hell. Like, I know that me and Tony don't identify as ENTs anymore, but like alpha-gal syndrome, bread and butter used to be at least bi-weekly type of diagnosis. And so, yeah, certainly to answer your question, I would be okay. I don't eat.
Tell me more about this. So wait, you saw this in ENT?
Yeah.
So what would they come to ENT for?
Chronic urticaria, maybe like intermittent rashes of unknown etiology. But like you said, I mean, just kind of flares up of, I would say it's part of it is actually a mandatory part of the idiopathic, like chronic urticaria workup. We send that blood off. That's automatic. Like we test for alpha-gal all the time, have found it all the time. Because unfortunately, again, and this is regional, like, it makes perfect sense because it is regional. So just these are parts of the country where the ticks, they're popping off. Alpha-gal syndrome is like, unfortunately, very common for us. And so since I don't eat red meat, I really do think like I would be okay. But again, when you look at the populations down here, like, I've seen a lot of angry men over the years be like, oh, I'm not going to stop eating white meat or red meat. And then it's like, okay, well, you're not going to feel very good for a while. A few things with alpha-gal, like it does suck and people get upset that they have to avoid the red meats that they love. I do usually have to look it up because people have come back and they've been like, okay, well, can I eat rabbit? And I'll be like,
that's a good question.
Let me look.
Can you eat rabbit?
Should you be eating rabbit? Like, I'm not sure. So guys are like, I figured it out and now I'm just eating rabbit all the time.
There you go.
I thought you meant philosophically, can you eat a rabbit? And I was like,
no, I was just like, can you alpha-gal and get your rabbit?
Yeah, you can have white. So
there it is. That's good. I'm learning so much, guys. This is wonderful.
So here's what's interesting. Yes, you just have to avoid it. There's not like literally there's nothing that even allays those symptoms, but it does just resolve without intervention over time. So there's like, I think the average number of years, maybe it's like 4 to 7 years, it'll burn out, like that it will burn out on its own. And so what we do is like, if we diagnose someone newly with it, then it's like, come back in a year. We redraw titers every year and eventually it just goes back down to 0. And then it will be like, hey, you're cured. You're just done. You can eat whatever you want. Couple things with that. Number one, I have seen people literally get it. We follow them, goes back down to 0 on labs, on blood work. And that's like 2 or 3 years later, which is great. So just kind of like 2 bad years or 2 years of avoidance goes back down to 0. And then they get bitten again. They go back out in the woods and get bitten again and literally get alpha-gal again. So that is possible. Like people, if you ever hear stories of like, oh, I've had alpha-gal for like 10 or 15 years. That's literally multiple rounds of tick bites. Yeah. Is how
this happens. Lady in this story did say like she'd been bitten like a mess of times by ticks.
Yeah. It's like, just stay inside. We're both club stay inside. So that's one thing about it. And then the other thing, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I love this train of thought. I've been having a great time because I love hearing about kind of these regional things that are very specific. Like I never saw that in my training ever. And the fact that not only did you see it all the time, but like you as an ENT were like, y'all drawing the title, like you're doing the
Yes,
follow up,
yes.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
allergy
The
related follow up for this stuff.
yeah,
Like that's
because
that's pretty solid.
allergy was a huge part of like that's some of what I love the most in ENT. Like I will say that too. Absolutely. I was like a chronic cough
Oh, I
and
hated
chronic
allergy. Oh my
urticaria
gosh.
queen.
Ooh.
Those were things that I liked. So we definitely had this a lot. Oh, the other thing that I just wanted to mention, this is very interesting about alpha gal and why a lot of people miss it and why symptoms diary is super important. It's important because the degree to which people are sensitized to this stuff. So what I mean by that is this. We see there's delayed symptoms. And so I had this one woman, she was coming in like on Sunday morning. She had this huge outbreak. Again, full body like hives. I mean, very quite ill. They're throwing antihistamines, Benadryl, everything at her. The night before, she'd actually been at a barbecue. And so people were like, okay, well, did you eat red meat at this barbecue? She's like, no, I don't eat red meat. But
Hmm.
being around the barbecue for hours where red meat was being
Was
cooked and
being
like
burned and
sitting in those
cooked and
fumes, that led to her
ooh.
outbreak. So it's like you don't even, because for
Oh,
me,
that's
I'd say, well, I
tough.
don't eat red meat. So the likelihood that I ate red meat accidentally, essentially zero. But these environmental exposures can really get you. And then the delay is what gets people. Because obviously, if she felt sick right post barbecue, your diary would be like, it was probably being at that barbecue in some
Yeah.
fashion. But the many hour delay could be like 8 hours. That can sometimes be the full overnight cycle. And then you wake up sick.
Wow. Guys, everyone's learning so much. Well, maybe everyone knew this but me, but I feel like I'm learning so much about this.
Southerners knew.
This is great. This is
The
Southern
Southerners
stuff,
knew.
man. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have this when I was trained in Detroit. I did not see this, but it does, make me fear the tall grass. I don't think I've ever been bitten by a tick. Um, and I will continue to wear long trousers out into nature to protect myself, lest I end up seeing Dr. Harden. All right, next, moving on into miscellaneous news. There's really only one thing to talk about today, because by the time this airs, this is going to be old news. But today it is breaking news. Frances Mei's least favorite celebrity boyfriend has proposed to her favorite pop star, and now Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married. And if you know me, you know that I love love, especially between people who don't strike me as, the complete worst. But we got to talk about this, Frances Mei, specifically. We got to talk about the ring, guys. Like this is where the discussion comes up, and we were talking about this before the show started. A lot of ring thoughts around here. So let's just first take a step back and let's talk about carrots and what they mean. Frances Mei, self-proclaimed diamondologist. I learned about this stuff relatively quickly and in very little depth when I was purchasing an engagement ring for my now wife. But this is shit I had to learn, right? So basically, carats are the unit of weight for diamonds. So putting like 1 carat on a ring, I think is a big deal, and it's a decent size diamond. But Big Trav put 8 carats on this ring, and guys, it looks like 8 carats. Like the ring takes up like half a Taylor Swift's finger. Apparently, it's valued at over $500,000. And they're my question. How do we feel about this engagement? Will it destroy the music for you even more so than it already has? And like, let's talk about engagement. I want to talk engagement rings and ring styles with you as well.
I feel like I am tiptoeing around glass because I mean, that is crazy to use So High School as the engagement song for the post. I mean, I literally think I told you guys last week that I thought So High School was so trite and like really.
Is she letting you down? Is she letting you down as a fave right now with all this love and just going soft over all this, happiness?
It just feels like I totally identified with her. Like I think what I loved about her all these years growing up, definitely identifying with her in the music, was like that she, liked the popular guy and she was not popular herself and she just like found her friends and over the years found her style. Again, like Folklore Evermore, that being some of my favorite era for her, it gives you whiplash to now be in like So High School with Travis. I think that what this has all been giving is more of like towny, like marry a guy who was really popular in high school. So yesterday, I received more texts yesterday about Taylor Swift's engagement than I receive on my birthday every year. So I had a lot of people in my life reaching out. They were like crying at work. They were freaking out where they were sitting. I did not text one person about it because I genuinely don't care that much. Like, I'm very busy. I
I don't
don't care.
know.
I don't feel
Mrs.
any.
May, your social circles say otherwise.
I know a lot of people who care a lot. I didn't text anyone
But you
about
don't.
it.
But you
I
don't
didn't
care.
even text some of them
You
back. I just
just
was like,
you
I see that she
just
got
get that
engaged.
out of here. Mm-hmm.
I think that there's an element of, sure, like, is this person relatable? For some of us with our favorite artists, they are relatable to us. And if they're no longer relatable, then that's totally fine. Like, I do feel like I have enough going on in my life that her getting engaged to someone that I don't have any interest in is fine. I would not say it wounds me deeply. Don't tell the papers that I got wounded deeply.
Oh, we won't. We will. We would never think to do that. Well, guys, those are Frances May's very carefully curated thoughts. She is trying so hard to not say anything hateful or rageful. I see you choosing your words extremely carefully, because guys, we're a nascent podcast and we can't afford to alienate the Swifties, so we won't. But I am curious about, because we got into the ring talk, and I think just independent of all the love story stuff, right? Like, is the ring nice? Is it hideous? Does it matter what we think? Is my question.
Yeah, I feel like I know now I know the answer is that I just say it doesn't matter what I think because this is entrapment. You're like, wow, do you like this ring? And I'm like, no. And then you're like, that's fucking parasocial. Like, wow, she probably likes her ring. This is entrapment. Hannah let me just walk into like a trap today.
Hannah got me. I think Hannah's on my side today because we just asking questions. That's all we doing. Hannah
She
don't
doesn't
like
the
the
ring.
and that's it. Hannah doesn't need no more discussion about that, and that's fair. But I mean, the thing I like about engagement rings when they're done well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I don't care about other people's engagement rings. I care about the one I got and the thought that I put into it. And if you're just like, I like when, whether, you're doing it on your own as the person who's presenting the ring, or you do it in concert with your partner and they've always had a dream about like what it should be like and that sort of thing. I just love that process, the thought that people put into it. I just like when people like really try to, make it something that their partner, is gonna want to wear for the rest of their lives and really, really like, and just really love. So in general, I'm pro engagement ring when it's done well. I don't know what your thoughts are about the engagement ring process, because everyone has different ways they go about it.
I got yelled at enough today. You're catering to the masses. Tony's just showing up. He's pandering.
Catering to the masses.
Yeah, you are. You're like,
man.
You're like, man, I don't want to sound controversial here, but me as a man, yeah, I'm pro engagement ring. I'm pro thoughtful engagements, and then you're like, anyway, throwing it over to you, and I'm like, yeah, I hate rings.
You don't have to disagree with me, or you could say like, yeah, I hate engagement ring. No one's entrapping you. We're getting to know each other. People are getting to know how we feel, and you know what? There's probably a huge audience who feels exactly the way you do about a lot of these things.
I am personally more of like a timeless, elegance, chic, minimalist aesthetic. I don't care for heirloom pieces. I don't like bezel set rings. I'm just going to say all these things in a vacuum and people can take what they want from it. But that's certainly what I think of those types of jewelry pieces.
You just want a classic and simple. Like I don't want to say understated, but like not gaudy.
Yeah,
not
understated for sure.
Yeah.
My initial engagement ring was a solitaire. It was a one diamond solitaire on the narrowest band that could support that size of a solitaire,
Mm.
period. Uh, I have a new ring that I got this spring. This is the ring. It is from Colin. We call it the CEO ring. It's the engagement ring that I want now. And it is one that, like, I mean, sure, I've seen a couple surgeons will wear stuff like this, especially if it's more of like a dress up day, but just realistically, like, you can't be a surgeon with a ring like this one.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, the second that I quit my job, I cut my hair mostly off because I didn't need to be able to put it into a bouffant anymore. I got a different ring that, like, I never would have felt comfortable to, like, wear it to practice or in front of patients. And again, like, let alone not carry it in and out of the OR.
Mhm.
So we got the ring, but yeah, I would say both styles that I went with, because this is a elongated cushion with like a halo thing. And even the halo on the side of my ring, I was like, that's a lot. Like, this is now, you're doing a lot with this. And that is what they had in stock. So I was like, all right, sold. Like, so, I mean, I just, that's how, and now it's really grown on me. I actually think the halo on the side of the setting is very charming, but I love that when people look at it, like, they would only see just the one diamond. I've never been a stack diamond or halo diamond or etch engravings like heirloom style into the band. I'm a very, like, narrow band person.
Have you always known that about yourself? Like your diamond preferences, your, like, your ring preferences, all that sort of stuff?
No, I would say that I knew all of that just when Colin and I, like, pretty jointly, years into dating, looked at rings and picked
Mm,
out rings together. So no,
nice.
I did not. I was, like, very preoccupied with, like, my own projects and Pokemon and, my art. I was just
Hmm.
true. I was not, like, planning the fairy tale wedding. I did not grow up with any of that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love all of that. I did so much, like, learning about all this stuff, like, when the time came, because, like,
Yeah.
I never thought about it for my entire life. But you know what? We love around here. We love, if you're an engagement ring type of person, you guys do it together, or you do it, in a thoughtful manner. You know, we tend to we it seems we're in accord here, Frances May. Do you feel entrapped by your bit of conversation you had about your ring right there?
I feel entrapped from earlier, from when I got trapped.
All right. Well, my entrapped friend, let's go on to our next and final segment before we wrap things up.
Our next segment, social rounds. This is where me and Tony will become your life attendings, because it's become abundantly clear that many of you out there are in desperate need of guidance. We've got the kind of wisdom that only comes from running out of fucks. Question of the
Yes.
week. How do you successfully date a resident? And this encompasses, like, so as a lay person, as another resident, or as another medical professional in the hospital.
You want to start with this, or should I start?
No, you go.
There
You're
you go.
walking into a trap, my friend.
Yes. All right.
No.
No, set a trap for me. I'm happy to. Yeah, this is an interesting question because I don't know that I ever successfully dated anybody as a resident. I think it was grossly unsuccessful over the course of 5 years, for any number of reasons. I think the primary reason was I had my own, stuff I really needed to deal with. And so, like, I barely had time to figure out, who I was, what I needed, and to ask somebody to come in and be a part of my life during that time. It was just, looking back on it, I can see completely unfair. Like, everything was set up for failure for me at that time. But that's not necessarily a generalizable sentiment. So I will say that just from the resident lifestyle perspective, how do you successfully date a resident or have some sort of staying power? Everyone says it, and I think it's true. It's one is understanding the time commitment. And I don't think anybody outside of medicine necessarily fully understands the time commitment until they're just, like, deep in it, and understands that, you know, the priority in this person's life, as much as you want it to be you, may not be you, you know, and as much as they may want it to be you, may not be you because it can't be you, because they just have to give more than should be acceptable uh, to this world. That's I think that's, you know, as a layperson, I think that's why, you know, it's really hard to start things up in residency. Like every time, everybody who I knew who had like successful long-term relationships, they started before residency or they started after residency. It's really hard. It's hard, and then people do it, but it's hard to find people within residency. And then some people think like, oh, you know, like maybe if you're dating someone who knows the world and knows that life, it's easier. You know, you date another resident, you date someone like, you know, who's going through it too. I don't think that's necessarily easier. I think that's probably just as much of a recipe for disaster, because you got two people who are going through the toughest time in their lives trying to connect. And it's too hard. So anyway, like I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I for sure. I mean, Colin and I met fourth year of medical school. I then went on to become, you know, definitely the worst version of myself for 5 years in residency. So very fortunate that he put up with that for like kind of an unknown reason. Worked out definitely in my favor. Would not have recommended that to
He
anybody.
thought you were okay. He had some long-term plans.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like he was into me enough that he was like, I'll just put up with like bullshit for quite some time. But yeah, I mean, I also am with someone who's like very patient and also
Mm.
happy to do like a delayed gratification and like the long-term plan. Cause I do think that he just saw the potential for things to be different and for like me to be better if I was in an environment where, you know, I wasn't actively suicidal. So, and
Hmm.
that's pretty accurate. So, I mean, he correctly calculated that if somebody's okay with that math. I do think that um also having dated residents, yeah, they're nightmares. I guess I never recommend dating a resident. I have some anti-resident sentiment that I'm sure people have heard about.
We're all having a tough time residency. But what you were saying about Colin made me think, when you guys met or during the residency time, what was what was he doing? Like was he happy in his life? Like was he struggling in like professionally and life wise in the way that like you were at that time, or was he kind of feeling um like he was doing okay?
He did pretty well. Like honestly, I mean, especially for having picked up his life and we moved in together, you know, in Missouri, um, maybe 8 months after dating or so. You know, we
Mm.
signed a lease at 6 months, which was match day. So I just think it's more of a like when you know, and thankfully for me, he didn't like revisit that questionable decision to like just come be a part of my life. And he was working in digital marketing, so he definitely built up a lot of his skill sets over those years because he had moved from Ingram Publishing in Nashville to now like a digital marketing firm there. And so I feel like he professionally like did pretty well. I mean, he was getting burnt out towards the end, but those are skills that like have helped him significantly with like all his next career moves. So I think that he views it as a positive investment there. Um, I just really think that when we talk about that time, or even just literally what he was doing during that time, was like kind of keeping me alive, which like that's a thankless job. Or it's almost like I think of there's a video going around of like this little baby goat and it jumps into a ravine and they keep pulling it out and it jumps back into the ravine and they're like, come on, guy. And like that, I mean, that was probably what it was like, the hijinks in our house. Um, yeah, I did
Yeah,
see.
I would say, you know, like I asked that question and you answered it beautifully. And because I think for me, if you're gonna date a resident, um it's really important that you, whatever walk of life you're coming from, you are in a place in your life where you are comfortable with yourself, that you appreciate the life that you have made, that you're not feeling insecure about your direction or where you're going. Because, like, yeah, if you want to enter into a partnership with someone who's in this really difficult time in their lives where their worth is being called into question all the time, they're going to be going through all these, transitions in how they see themselves and who they want to be, regardless of how much they want to. Um, if the like being a good partner to someone like that requires that you know yourself first, and that you're very comfortable with who you are and where you're at. And then it takes a certain level of maturity and comfort. And I think, with the way you describe like who Colin is and who he was back then, it sounds like that's who he was. And I think, for me, like, uh, dating, if you could call it that, the people that I was dating, whether in the hospital or outside the hospital, I was attracting or pulling, I was attracted to people who were a mess, in one way or another. And when the people came around who weren't messy, like I wasn't in the place to kind of give them what they needed at that time. And they were in a place where, they didn't need to bring that sort of energy around them. And so
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I understand. And so I think that's kind of the moral of the story. I think just so that we, for folks who are thinking about, do I date a doctor? Do I date a resident? At this time, is that a good time to strike things up? More so it's about who you are and where you're coming from, I think. So that you know who you are, what you want. And if this is the person that you want, then you can enter into that partnership, eyes open, and, you know, knowing what you need out of that, knowing what you can give.
Yeah, I think to kind of close with some of Colin's advice recently was just actually he distilled it down to some of the secret sauce was that he didn't take things personally. Like, I mean, by the time we were in residency, like, sure, he knew some of what my childhood was like. He had some context on me. He is pretty good at getting a read on people, so he knew me, and then he also was cognizant of like what the job was like and what it was doing to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, again, I'm never going to couch this like as a resident, I was just feral. And certainly like many physicians, like I just took things out at home because you can't take it out at work at the people who actually deserve it. So
Mm-hmm.
I do think that him not taking it personally when I didn't have like good coping mechanisms or like know or have skills to like deal with kind of the BS of residency, especially in a really malignant program, it was helpful. And obviously that's not like an excuse. And, that's a partner being willing to go above and beyond. And it's like totally on us to figure out how to develop those skills and healthy coping mechanisms and all of that. And now, like, yeah, I show up very differently, but it is like, and we definitely liken it to scooping up a feral animal out of the street and like it taking years to like domesticate it.
Oh man. Well, this just makes me want to have Colin on the show, man. We just got I think we're gonna have a partner day at some point and it's gonna be awesome.
Amazing.
Um all right. I think that's it. I think we did it again.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out our other shows and content like this at hippocratic-collective.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Social Rounds. You can find us online at Frances Mei, MD, and Wheyouat, WHEYOUAT, on Instagram.
Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Bye.